The passenger list of the doomed Tu-154 included prominent Russian activist and charity fundraiser Elizaveta Glinka. She was heading to the Khmeimim air base to deliver medicines for a university hospital in Latakia. Elizaveta Glinka is the founder of the Fair Aid Charity Fund, established back in 2007. It aims to bring relief to those suffering from cancer and also those struggling to house themselves. Back in 2014, she was behind a humanitarian mission in the war-torn eastern part of Ukraine, where she helped children who had fallen victim to violence. And in 2016, she took part in the Russian aid mission to Syria, where she worked as part of a paramedic crew attending to injured civilians in Aleppo. Recently, during a ceremony where she was given a state award for her humanitarian work, she discussed her plans to return to Syria.
Tomorrow I have a flight to Donetsk, and from there a flight to Syria. Along with dozens of other volunteers doing humanitarian work, we can never be sure that we'll come back alive, because war is a living hell.
The head of the Presidential Human Rights Council, who worked closely with Dr. Lisa, says he can't come to terms with what's happened.
This is horrible news. I don't want to believe it. Right now I'm looking at my inbox and can still see emails from her. Ones where she writes about helping a disabled person taking care of 2 children. I'm still getting her greetings, still getting her instructions and requests. I can't believe she's no more. I knew she was flying. Moreover, we were intending to fly together, but only she got approval. And I know she went there to bring medical supplies. It wasn't a tour, a leisure trip. She was bringing medicine to the university hospital in Latakia.
And joining me live in the studio now with the latest we have from the Russian Ministry of Defense is Emily Su. Emily, you've been keeping an eye on the story all day today, so what have you got for us this hour?
Well, before I get into the Russian Defense Ministry press conference, just before I came in, the Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, he released a statement vowing to thoroughly investigate the cause of this crash of this ill-fated Tu-154. He promised that assistance will be provided to those who need it, and he also expressed his condolences, saying that it really is impossible to come to terms with such a huge loss. We're talking about musicians, journalists, officials, and even humanitarian and activists. Now, going back to that press conference, well, the Defense Ministry has confirmed they have identified the crash site and that they see no survivors in sight, and they've confirmed that they're not expecting to find any survivors there. And now this search operation is ongoing. We know that they've discovered 3 more bodies over the past hour, bringing up the total number of bodies they've found now to 4. But let's take a listen to what the spokesperson Igor Konashenkov he said during this press conference here.
The area where the Tu-154 crashed has been established. No survivors have been found. At this moment, at a distance of 1.5 kilometers from the Black Sea shores in Sochi, and at a depth of around 70 meters, fragments of the plane's fuselage have been discovered. In the search operations, 4 boats, 4 helicopters, 1 plane and a drone are being used. 4 bodies have been recovered. 6 ships from the Black Sea Fleet are heading to the area, as are deep submergence vehicles and 63 divers.
Now, Konashenkov also unveiled more details about this specific plane that we're talking about. We know that it has accumulated over 7,000 hours in the air. It was last repaired in 2014, and in 2016 it went through regular maintenance checks and there were no malfunctions. So everything seemed to be operating normal with this plane. The pilot of this plane is also extremely experienced, a first-class pilot with over 3,500 flight hours accumulated. And also, he unveiled that the weather conditions when this plane took off was normal. The shots we've seen from the Rappeli agency, well, everything seems normal. It's calm, there's no strong winds, there's no storm. And we know that the plane disappeared from radar within 2 minutes after takeoff. So there must have been something very, very tragic that happened within those 2 very short minutes that caused it to crash. But of course, the operation is ongoing, and until we find that black box that is now submerged in the water in the Black Sea off the Sochi coast, we won't find out exactly what happened to this flight.
Indeed, yeah, we know that the investigation team is already on the ground looking for all the evidence that they need to find out what happened. But what a day there, and it is indeed hard to come to terms with what happened today. Emily, thanks so much for bringing us the latest. We'll be crossing back to you throughout the program. Now, as we mentioned, the plane was heading to the Russian Khmeimim air base in Syria, where the Alexandrov Choir was going to stage a New Year concert for the servicemen there. The base was built back in 2015 and was actively used in Russia's anti-terror operation in Syria. It can host over 50 military aircraft, including fighter jets, bombers, and helicopters. Most of the aircraft left the base after a withdrawal was ordered by President Putin in March this year. However, a limited military presence remained at the base in Khmeimim. The Tupolev 154 has been a workhorse of Russian aviation since its launch. It is a three-engine airliner designed in the mid-1960s. It can reach a cruising speed of up to 900 kilometers per hour. The length of the plane is 48 meters, and its height is 11.4 meters. Its maximum flight distance is 4,000 kilometers, and it has a passenger's capacity of up to 180 people. Since 1968, there have been 39 fatal incidents with this type of plane, and we discussed the latest tragic incident with a senior lecturer in aviation studies at Kingston University.
In terms of this particular incident at takeoff, it's possible that it could be engine failure that has caused the aircraft to struggle in terms of taking off. It's also possible that the engine failure could have been caused by bird strikes in the local area, though it's fairly rare. The aircraft has 3 engines, and for all engines to be impacted by bird strikes is quite a rare phenomenon. With other aircraft incidents involving this aircraft at takeoff, a number of aircraft have crashed after takeoff because the aircraft has been overloaded or pilot error has got the calculation of center of gravity incorrect.
Now, here's a look at the most prominent Tu-154 crashes in recent years. In 2006, a Russian airline plane crashed over Ukraine, killing all 160 on board. The crew made a critical mistake while trying to avoid a storm. 3 years later, an Iranian airliner crashed in the north of the country. All 168 people on board died. A faulty engine was identified as the cause of the catastrophe. And in 2010, a plane carrying Poland's president and other top government and military officials crashed in Russia's Smolensk region while landing. The cabin crew made a mistake in conditions of poor visibility. There was heavy fog around the airport. A special commission has taken off from Moscow for Sochi, and we've just heard from the Russian president on the tragedy. Vladimir Putin said that the causes of the crash will be thoroughly investigated and the victims' relatives will get support. He also declared Monday a day of mourning in Russia. We'll be bringing you all the very latest details as soon as we get them here on RT International, so do stay with us for that if you can.